Hey Matt, I'd like to talk a little bit about the WordPress strategy. Now that WordPress is powering like 30% of the web, and there's everyone's getting quite excited about Gutenberg. Where do you want to take WordPress next?
The strategy is very much the same as it was 5, 10, or 15 years ago. It's to listen to our users, with the community, develop the best software, and repeat.
Yeah. Are there any specific features that your user base want?
Oh, that's why we're starting to work on this new thing called Gutenberg.
Yeah.
Gutenberg is basically a reimagining of how you edit and control content inside of WordPress. In the first version, it'll be changing posts and pages, and then after that, you'll be able to really modify and customize the entire website with these kind of like Lego blocks that you can rearrange. It only limits your creativity.
And now with Gutenberg, how should WordPress developers and designers, in particular those using page builders at the moment, like Beaver Builder, how should they think about Gutenberg?
They should think of it as basically Gutenberg provides a new foundation and framework that all the builders can build on top of. So Beaver was part of a meeting just a few weeks ago with all the page builders and the Gutenberg team, talking about their plans and our plans for compatibility. I think because Gutenberg's going into core, which will be 100 to 200 times the size of the largest page builder, they'll be able to start to take the things that they used to have to reinvent the wheel over and over again, build out on the common Gutenberg framework, and then focus on the differentiation in terms of blocks, customization, designs, themes.
And what are the most compelling reasons for WordPress professionals to switch from a page builder to Gutenberg?
Well, most people have never used a page builder, so they'll be sort of using this interface for the same time. For people who are already using a page builder and pretty happy with it, maybe nothing on day one. If it's working fine for them, I would say don't worry about it. But the nice thing about it being standardized in core is that for most page builders, only a certain number of themes support them, and there's no interoperability. There's a dozen page builders which all have a dozen different ways of doing the exact same thing. So with Gutenberg, we'll have some interoperability, so that when a theme is built for Gutenberg, it'll work across everything. You'll be able to switch perhaps even page builders and have everything still work.
And there was a question in the Q&A just now about 6.0. How do you see the role of WordPress developers and designers evolve in the next 3 years, given that Gutenberg will make it much easier for everyone to build a website?
Yeah, just because you have the ability to customize everything doesn't mean you'll still want a designer to help you help guide the process, meaning that I think there's still going to be a space for great themes and people will be able to express their creativity. They'll just have to widen the tint a bit, where previously the themes allowed sort of a very narrow band of customization. Theme developers will need to think basically wider.
And what role do hosting companies play in the WordPress ecosystem, and how can they help move it forward?
Hosting companies are crucial. The number one thing that they can do is help ensure that people are on the latest versions of PHP, MySQL, because that'll make things faster and more secure. Help ensure people on the latest versions of WordPress, which of course helps everyone, including us and them. And then beyond that, something that host companies have become a lot better about is actually training their support staff on WordPress. So if you're to call them, that's kind of your first port of call, all the people that are answering the phones actually have a base layer knowledge of WordPress, so they can answer elementary questions.
And 15 years of WordPress, which is amazing. What do you consider your biggest achievement in those 15 years?
The thing I'm really most proud of is the global community. I'm from Texas. I barely speak one language. WordPress, a new version comes out, it's in 50 languages on day one. So being able to bring together a group of people who are different in so many ways, but have this belief in common, the belief in that we can create a better web, that open source technology is kind of the thing that we want to build the foundations of our future on. This has brought far more people together than I ever would have imagined, because these are, when it started, very niche ideas. Like open source wasn't as popular, and certainly not for consumer software. So WordPress and others have really helped open it up, where if my life's work is to make open source available to more people, we've come a good way, and I think it'll keep me busy as long as I'm around.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the growth is still accelerating, which is amazing. So how important are emerging markets to WordPress?
Oh, I'd say every market is important. You know, perhaps emerging is good because there's fewer proprietary solutions there already, but I wouldn't put any one market above the other.
Mm-hmm. Well, what about markets like India and Africa, because the way that they access the web is very different. Mm-hmm. Do you take that into account, the way you build Gutenberg as well?
Well, that's one of the reasons that I emphasized the mobile apps in this presentation today. You know, we had a huge number, I think it was over 1 million posts and 3.7 million photos in just the past month being posted through the mobile apps. Mm-hmm. So I can completely imagine folks maybe skipping desktops and going straight to Android and iOS devices. Yeah. The good news is that WordPress has a strong and getting stronger app presence there. Mm-hmm. And the apps are open source, which is highly unusual in both of the stores.
Yeah. And it's probably difficult to say, but have you got like a favorite project that's built on WordPress right now, and why?
Oh, I saw one just the other day I thought was kind of funny. It was called Girls and Cats.
Okay.
And you know, there's this myth of a cat lady as being like an old spinster, you know, someone who you know, there's just kind of negative stereotype. And so this website interviews people and their cats, and kind of makes it look fantastic. It's almost like a fashion shoot. Yeah. And people tell their story, and they of course tell the story of how they found their feline friends.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what would you say is the key to running a massive open source project?
Probably the most important thing is to really be open and transparent. So much that it hurts sometimes, but that's what the community expects, and it's what fosters really the kind of the open dialogue and inclusive development that makes open source work.
I think we are. Would you agree that we are a bit at a turning point at the moment, where the web is becoming more open, and closed platforms are becoming less dominant?
Not yet.
No, but we are heading towards this way.
Well, there's hundreds of billions of dollars being pushed to make the web more closed. Yeah. And there's kind of a ragtag group of people who really believe in things trying to make the web more open. So these forces are both very powerful. Ultimately, I think that the advantage is going to lie with the people, and that's the side that I work on.
And how do designers and developers collaborate at WordPress and at Automattic to create a better user experience?
Well, that's a big change that we've made in the past year and a half, where when I took back over the core development of WordPress and we announced these new focuses, including Gutenberg, one thing we did that's never been done before is we paired each lead developer with a lead designer, making sure that from every step along the way, from conception to prototypes to everything, that design has a seat at the table. And so that's allowed us to, I think, really both accelerate development, and what we're developing is better suited to our audience because we're not getting to the end and then testing it out. Tammy and others have been doing user tests and research throughout the whole process, and that's gone into an iterative loop that makes the software better.
How does the pairing work in practice, given that you are like a distributed company?
I mean, we chat with each other and share things online, and put things on the P2. There's a weekly meeting in the WordPress.org Slack where the teams come together and anyone can participate. Yeah. So these are how it works. Is actually totally open, and you can log in and look at it. Okay. Cool. For better and worse.
Cool. And just to round up, how do you see WordPress evolve over the next few years, and what kind of features would you like to see personally?
I am very, very excited to see, kind of to your question earlier, when we start to do the first Gutenberg themes, which are just starting to come out now, and when we have customization, the second phase of Gutenberg, we will pair it with a new default theme in WordPress. That'll be completely customizable. I am so curious to see both what people create with that and how theme developers reimagine their craft in this type of environment.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.